Global. I'm your host, Nick Toka. Bitcoin going a bit sideways yet again. It's been about a week of this sideways movement. We have a Spar supermarket in Switzerland starting to accept Bitcoin. More and more places starting to accept it, folks. Buses, trains, taxis, supermarkets. Amazing. What Trump firing Fed chair would mean for Bitcoin and the U.S. economy. I can tell you right now, it would mean things would turn and be amazing. Also, Bitcoin whales absorb 300% of newly minted BTC supply. Is 100,000K price next. It should be. All this and so much more in today's show. Welcome, folks, to CryptoNews Global. I'm your host, Nick Toka. Today is April 18th, 2025. While you're here, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And let's get right into some market watch and Bitcoin technical analysis. See what's going on today. We have the Bitty down just under 1%, 84,701, still sitting at this 85,000 mark. Ethereum up 0.16%. We'll call it sideways, 1592. Solana up 1.25%, 137 bucks. Cardano up 2.25%, 63 cents. XRP up 0.25%, $2.07. Doge up 2%, just under 16 cents a coin. Getting into crypto bubbles, we see for the day about 90% in the green, albeit slight amounts, not insanity here. Core up 10% is really the big winner, and everything else up between 1 and about 4%. Jupiter up 3.5%. Flow up 6.5%. Trump up 4%. Injective up 3%. That's kind of how the day is. About 2 to 5% up for most things. Zooming out to the weekly, we have about a 50-50 mix with Radium up 22%. Core up 20%. And zooming out for the monthly, most things are in the red for the month. We'll call it about a 70-30 mix in the red. Fartcoin up 100% for the month. XCN up 55% for the month. On the flip side, OM lost its shirt and its market share, down 90% for the month. Total hash rate currently, we have the price and the hash rate again diverging from each other, and hopefully they're going to start making a comeback. We do see that they are slowly coming back together. And what does that mean? That means the price generally follows the hash rate, so we would expect that the Bitty price is going to start pumping soon. Global M2 money supply, we've got a very, very close correlation between the money supply and Bitcoin, and it continues. This will continue forever. So we're going to see the global M2 money supply really increasing soon, and then we can expect the Bitty to also jump right up. Let's zoom in a bit. And we've got Bitcoin price, we'll call it above the M2 money supply right now, but this is going to jump up greatly coming up soon. Taking a look at the total crypto market cap for Bitcoin, it's sitting at $1.68 trillion. Ethereum at $192 billion. XRP $121 billion. Solana $70 billion. Doge 23 billion, Tron 23 billion, and Cardano 22 billion bucks. Total Bitcoin and crypto market cap. We've got the total crypto market cap $2.63 trillion with Bitcoin holding just under 64%, 63.8% of that. Ethereum holding 7.3%, XRP 4.6%. Currently, Crypto Fear and Greed Index shows us we are at a 32 in fear. Yesterday was a 33 in fear, and last week was 43 in neutral. There are 1,089 days left until the next Bitcoin halving in 2028, and 156,951 blocks left to mint until then. Total assets by market cap, we've got gold still way up top, $22.4 trillion. Apple just under $3 trillion. Microsoft $2.7 trillion. Nvidia $2.4 trillion. Google $1.8 trillion. Silver $1.8 trillion. Amazon $1.8 trillion. Everything's at $1.8 trillion. Bitcoin right behind Amazon at $1.678 trillion. Saudi Aramco $1.641 trillion, and Google at $1.27 trillion. You can currently get 1,183 satoshis for $1 US. The current U.S. national debt is $36,742 billion, equaling $107,392 per citizen, or $323,049 per U.S. taxpayer. The Doge clock, spinning the opposite way, of course, currently has saved U.S. taxpayers $333.5 billion, which equals to $2,969 per person. So pretty much $3,000 per taxpayer they have saved so far. Very nice work over there. There's also nice work going on. Switzerland, the land of money, right? That's what they do, banking. And they always seem to be ahead of the curve when it comes to money. So this also holds true when it comes to the Biddy. So they announced they were accepting Bitcoin to pay taxes. They've announced Bitcoin for a few other things. They put up a statue of Satoshi Nakamoto about a year ago. And now Spar supermarket in Switzerland starts accepting Bitcoin. International retail giant launches Bitcoin Lightning Network payments at Zug location, signaling potential wider adoption across 14,000 global stores. Interesting indeed. Spar has begun accepting Bitcoin payment for its Zug, Switzerland location, marking another milestone in Switzerland's progressive approach to Bitcoin adoption. The implementation uses the Lightning Network through DFX Swiss Open Crypto Pay solution, enabling instant transactions at the point of sale. The store's location in Zug, often called Crypto Valley, reflects Switzerland's embrace of technology. The country has emerged as a global leader in Bitcoin adoption, with cities like Zug and Lugano spearheading initiatives to integrate Bitcoin into everyday transactions. Lugano, in particular, has made headlines with its Plan B initiative, which aims to make Bitcoin a de facto legal tender in the city. The plan, supported by Mayor Michel Folletti, has already enabled Bitcoin payments for taxes, public services, and hundreds of local merchants. The city has also partnered with Tether to establish a technology education center and startup fund. This Spar location is among the first supermarkets in Switzerland where you can pay directly at the checkout using Bitcoin via LNURL, DFX Swiss announced. The implementation could pave the way for expansion across Spar's network of over 13,900 stores in 48 countries, which serve approximately 14.7 million customers daily. So very cool, ahead of the curve again. The Swiss friends over there accepting the Biddy. Now, on this side of the pond, we still have some relative turmoil, and we've talked about it a few times where Powell he's been asked to lower the interest rates, just won't do it. And now it's getting to the point where the question arises what Trump firing Fed chair would mean for Bitcoin and the U.S. economy. As President Trump explores an early exit for Fed Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, analysts share the potential impact on Bitcoin and beyond. Should President Trump make good on apparent threats to fire Fed Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, analysts tell Decrypt that an extraordinary move would likely throw the American political system into turmoil. But could it also be bullish for Bitcoin? I believe so. On Thursday, Trump, who has unnecessarily lobbied Powell for lower interest rates for weeks, said the Fed chair's termination cannot come fast enough. While presidents often come into conflict with the Fed, which dictates U.S. monetary policy, no U.S. leader has ever gone so far as to fire its leadership, at least since the central bank became functionally independent in 1951. If Trump attempted to break that well-established norm, the effect on traditional finance markets could be devastating, analysts told Decrypt, but also bolster Bitcoin's value and proposition. It would set a really bad precedent of executive branch being able to meddle in the agency that controls the money supply of the country, Juan Leon, a senior investment strategist at Bitwise, said, but I think it would be very positive for Bitcoin. Leon elaborated that Powell's firing would likely degrade trust in the foundation of America's economy, sending equity and bond markets spiraling. But this very same erosion of faith in the stability of the U.S. financial system, a given for nearly a century, could eventually appreciate Bitcoin's price. Alternative stores of value that are independent of government manipulation would become even more desirable, he said. Leon likens Bitcoin to gold in such a scenario. In recent weeks, as the White House pursues aggressive tariff policies that have sent shockwaves through the global economy, the rare metal has surged to all-time highs, fueled by a panicked search for durable stores of value. Gold rising in this market environment is a bullish signal for where Bitcoin will go once the macroeconomic dust of all of this settles, Leon said. Matthew Siegel, head of DigitalAssets research at Van Eck, agreed with Powell's firing could trigger a devastating loss of confidence in American institutional stability, a dynamic more common in emerging markets than in the reserve currency economy. Siegel also contended that such a development could aid Bitcoin in the long term. If markets begin to price in political turnover at the Fed every 4 years, Bitcoin's fixed apolitical monetary policy may look more attractive in comparison, he said. In recent years, though, Bitcoin has shown itself to be vulnerable to major swings in traditional financial markets. Recent tariff-related market volatility, for example, rocked the entire crypto market, including Bitcoin, despite the supposed alternative nature of digital currencies. Bitwise's Leon conceded that a major market event like Powell's firing could have an immediate negative effect on Bitcoin's price, given the asset often gets dragged down with the stock market. Yep. But he posited that if Bitcoin did fall with cratering TradeFi markets in such an event, something he's not necessarily convinced of, then that synergy would likely only be short-term. It remains unclear whether Trump actually intends to fire Powell, given the lack of precedent for such a move and the high stakes surrounding it. But on Friday, a White House official said the president is actively studying whether to make the consequential decision. And since retaking office, Trump and his Republican allies in Congress have actively taken steps to degrade the Fed's independence, increasingly via crypto policy. Should the president ultimately opt to fire his Fed chair, holders of crypto assets besides Bitcoin may not have much reason to cheer, because the regulatory status of cryptocurrencies like Ethereum and Solana is less of a settled matter. Those tokens will likely only suffer should a meltdown of faith in the stability of the U.S. economy transpires. Leon believes that uncertainty inserted into the market about government manipulation would affect other assets beyond Bitcoin in a more negative way, he added. Yeah, that makes sense. King Bitcoin would certainly hold its value, but all the other, ish coins, they might just dip and they might never come back up. Although I find that also unlikely. At some point, we already see Bitcoin almost 60, what did we call it? 65, 66%, 60, almost 64% dominance. At some point, that could get quite a bit higher. Now, what's happened in other 4-year cycles with Bitcoin is all the altcoins, the Bitcoin dominance was up at around this 60% mark, and once the real bull market started, the altcoins actually took a substantial cut from that, bringing the Bitcoin dominance down to 50 to 55%. So we might see the same kind of thing happen if things go flying through the roof. And, as usual, Bitcoin's probably going to lead the way, and we'll see what happens with the ish coins after that. But what we do know with the Biddy is that Bitcoin whales have absorbed 300% of newly mined Bitcoin supply. So the question is 100,000 K next for the Biddy? Bitcoin whales absorb 300% of new supply, says the article. Bitcoin whales and sharks are now absorbing BTC at record rates, over 300% of the yearly issuance, while exchanges are losing coins at a historical pace, according to Glassnode. Notably, Bitcoin's yearly absorption rate by exchanges has plunged below 200% as outflows continue. The signals a growing preference for self-custody or long-term investment. Meanwhile, large holders, 100 to 1,000 Bitcoins, are scooping up more than 3 times the new issuance, marking the fastest rate of accumulation among sharks and whales in Bitcoin history. Bitcoin whales holding over 10,000 Bitcoin remain in strong accumulation territory, while their trend accumulation score at around 0.7 as of April 18th, according to Glassnode. This metric quantifies cohort behavior from distribution to accumulation. The score implies confidence among the largest holders of Bitcoin. Distribution is a 0, accumulation is a 1. In contrast, the sell-off in similar cohorts that have been distributing earlier in the years to be slowing down. That includes the 10 to 100 Bitcoin and the 1 to 100 Bitcoin groups, whose scores have climbed back to a neutral zone at around 0.5. Even the smallest cohort. On-chain analyst Mignolet adds that the whale behavior is similar to what preceded Bitcoin's 2020 bull run. Yeah, so the smaller coin holders, 1 to 100 and 10 to 100, have been selling off, presumably because they need the money. And then we've got the 100 Bitcoin whales holding 10,000 or more. Geez, 100 to 1,000 are scooping up more than 3 times the issuance. So the guy, if you've got 100 Bitcoin, you're doing okay, folks. 100 to 1,000, and these guys are scooping it up at record pace. So Again, they reiterated that this is kind of what happened before the 2020 bull run, so I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin and history repeats. The money really knows, the big money, the whales know where to put their cash. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bull run coming up very soon. We've been waiting for it, let's face it. I expected that the price would have been quite high already. There's lots of money out there. Remember, folks, there's almost $900 trillion of assets around the world, so be sure to get your share of it. Money is abundant. Money is everywhere. It's time that's scarce, so use your time wisely. Spend less money than what you earn, and that way you always stay in the green. If you start suddenly making more money for a good reason, save more money, invest more money. Don't start spending more money, and start investing when you're young, ideally in your teens and your 20s, and hopefully you can retire when you're 40 or 45. If you have a great idea, even if you're not ready, start with your idea today. And folks, if you found this stream enjoyable, please share, like, comment, and especially subscribe, and we will help you and see you on the next stream. Folks, thanks so much for joining.